So let us get started.
Yes.
So, what is your name
My name is Fahima Akhtar Purni.
and what is it that you do? Do you work or do you study?
Uh, Currently, I am working and I'm working in Bangladesh Football Federation as a liaison officer.
I see. And what is it that you like about your job?
Uh, the I have loved my job very much, but the first thing that I really appreciate about my job is I have the chance to meet with the celebrity persons like the best football players for of different countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and India, and everything. And that is the most interesting part of my job, I think.
I see. Since you meet a lot of people from different nationalities, can you tell me about any positive experiences you might have had with them?
Yes, I have a lot of positive experience with them. For example, I learned a lot about their cultures, what foods they like, and what dress up they like, how they decorate their home when there is any festival or any cultural events, and they really love to dance and sing in occasion. I mean, they are not just a good football player; even they are an all-rounder, I guess. That is the most appealing thing.
I see. And now, since we are on the topic of culture, can you tell me about something that you like about the culture of your country?
Yes, I love a lot of things about my own culture. For example, I love when there is a winter fair, spring fair, for example. In winter fair, we have to go to a lot of peat house shop, we say it, celebration of winter. And there is also a market, and children can play there. I really love this about my culture.
Okay. And what cultural festival would you recommend tourists to visit if they visited your country?
Okay. Okay. I believe the Boishak celebration, I mean, um the celebration of Bengali first month is really a big cultural festival for us. So I would definitely recommend my foreign friends to visit Bangladesh on this time.
I see. And can you tell me about the traditional foods of your country?
Well, the traditional foods of my country include what I say, the rice, the bread, the ilish, what uh, hilsa fish, and the mashed potato. That is all are my traditional food of Bangladesh, I guess.
Okay, brilliant. Now let us move on. Let's talk about let's talk about gift giving. When do people usually give gifts in your country?
Actually, we give gifts in our country in festivals like Friendship Day, for example, as well as we give someone else when their anniversary happens, for example, wedding anniversary or their birthday party. These
I
are the
see.
very common
And
situation.
when was the last time that you received a gift?
I received a gift last time on my birthday. It was in 17 October. My elder brother gives me a beautiful dress, and when I wear it, I really look like a princess. And it was the most beautiful gift of my life.
I see. And what kind of gifts do you buy when you buy presents for your friends or family members?
Uh, Actually, I when I give someone gifts, I really prefer what they like. I search a lot about their taste, if they like cosmetics or makeup products or ornaments or dresses. For example, my friends really love to do a lot of makeup, so I actually give them a lot of lipstick, eyeshadow, what they like actually.
Okay. And now let's discuss games. So, what games or sports are popular in your country?
I see in my country cricket and football are the most popular games and sports in my country.
Okay. And do you play any of them?
No, I don't play football or cricket, but I'm really a good swimmer. I used to swim in my leisure time.
Okay. And how does one learn that activity in your country?
In my country, there is a lot of place to learn swimming. For example, for women, there is a sports complex named Sultana Kamal's Women's Sports Complex for the girls, and you can study there. You can learn anything what you like. For example, table tennis, karate, or swimming, everything, basketball, anything you can like there.
I see. And do you think that physical activities are properly promoted in your country?
For girls or for
For both
male.
genders in general?
In my country, I guess basketball, table tennis, they are always promoted for everyone. But swimming is not very common, I guess, especially for the girls.
Okay. All right then. Now let us move on to your cue card section. I hope you have a pen and paper ready with you. So,
Yes.
okay then. So here's your cue card. It's about an interesting place that you have visited as a tourist. So you have 1 minute to prepare to take notes, and you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. So your time to prepare starts now. Okay, then your time is up, and you may begin.
I as a tourist, I really love to travel a lot and have got plenty of opportunities to travel in different countries. For example, last year I visited in India for work purposes, and I have got the opportunity to visit the Taj Mahal in India, and it was indeed a beautiful, a great place to visit, I must say. And it was in Agra, as far as I remember there. I worked there with the foreign women players of India, and what a great experience it was. I roamed the whole place, and my foreign friends actually tell me about their culture and behind the scene and how a person wife in to show the affection for his wife. That part really touched me a lot. I guess I have covered everything.
Okay, thank you. Now, what else do you like about that country?
I really like about their country is they are really very much friendly, and whenever any foreigner went their house, they really um, grade them very well. They mm, are really very much friendly and talk to you like as you are their own friend, own family member. That is the most pleasing thing about
I
them.
see. Now, since we are on the topic of traveling and tourism, let's discuss more about this. So, can you tell me what advantages does tourism bring to a country?
I believe tourism brings to a country a lot of advantages. For example, it really helps to boost up the economical condition or the financial condition of countries. For example, we can now say that Sri Lanka is struggling a lot about their economical condition. But a few years ago, when there was no COVID situation, Sri Lanka earned a lot from their tourism facilities. So I think it's really important
And can you
for a
think of
country.
any disadvantages that tourism brings to a country?
I believe disadvantages include like the spoiling of environments. I mean, people are really reckless. They don't really care about the pollution. They used to throw up dirty things here and there without thinking about the consequences, and it's really the disadvantages, a great disadvantages of tourism.
And how can countries solve this problem?
I believe countries can solve this problem by enforcing strict laws, and there should be a severe punishment for spoiling the environment.
I see. Now, let us discuss about being a tourist. So, can you tell me what can tourists learn from visiting new places?
I believe tourists can learn visiting a new place. There are stories behind it, as well as their cultures, the communication, what the people loves, what the people hate, and everything about it.
Okay, can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Well, for example, when I visited India, I didn't know much about their religious view. There are too many cultural events, but when I went there, I really I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and there is so many religions in India. I thought there is only I would meet Hindus, but I really meet a lot of Christian as well as Muslims, and all of them have different views about the lifestyle, which approached me the most.
And what should tourists do if they have a bad experience in the country they're visiting?
Well, I don't actually have much memory about any bad experience.
All right,
I
then.
found them mostly very much friendly.
Okay, then. Thank you. This is the end of the test. So overall, as you know, your speaking is graded under four criteria. The first criterion is your fluency and your coherence. You are a very fluent speaker, and your coherence, that means your relevance with the information, is actually very good. So your cue card was sound. The development in your first part, when I asked you personal question, that's really good as well. Part three went really well as well. However, the last question was a little tricky, and usually examiners tend to do that just to stretch if they can reduce or increase your band scores. So what happened was at the end, just remember when I ask you part three questions, or when the examiner asks you part three questions, they are being asked from a general perspective. So you can include your personal examples, but it's a more general question. So let's say if a tourist has a bad experience, what can they do? So it's about the tourist. So in your case, you might go like, well, personally, when I visited, I never had bad experiences, but things like that are common, I suppose. Tourists can perhaps talk to the authorities, perhaps report to the authorities and see how it works. If that doesn't work, they can basically try to have a positive attitude because they're visiting a place. Just if you just show a basic justification, that's good enough, basically. So besides this minor hiccup, your overall fluency was great. So you're going to score a 7 in your fluency and coherence, which 7 means good, by the way. Moving on to your vocab, you used very accurate words. While you did not use any fancy words, most of your words were very accurate, and that's what the examiner looks for when they're grading you a band 7. If you manage to use idiomatic words, your score will increase from a 7 to an 8. But since your word choice was very accurate, your word choice was very sound, it should be good to go. So for your vocab section, as in lexical resources, you're scoring a 7 as well. For your grammar, it depends from exam to exam. So if the examiner is very strict, if the examiner grades you strictly, you will be scoring a 6. However, I personally feel that you should be able to score a 7. Most of your sentences are fine. Your sentence structures are fine as well. However, sometimes you have an issue with tense choice. For example, say when you're talking about your experiences, you use an example about India. Whenever a foreigner went to their house. So let's say when you use a general example, we use the present tense. So whenever foreigners visit houses. So similarly, when you talked about the negative impact of pollution, you spoke about the tourists throwing things around, but instead of the tense, you said they used to throw their things. So from here, the examiner will see that you have some issue with tenses, and this is kind of repeated in part one and part three. So my personal recommendation would be to be very, very, very careful with your tense choice. In general, if it's a thing that happens all the time, you use the present tense. Otherwise, you should switch to the past tense depending on the situation. Besides that, another little criticism I have is that whenever you ask questions that are a little unfamiliar, because you noticed at the beginning you started talking about culture. So I reacted with that and we started talking about culture. So the examiner listens to your response and then your next response is adapted. The next question is adapted to that. So in that case, when we were talking about cultural festivals in part one, I asked you what cultural festival you would recommend, you like, or you would recommend, I suppose. You said, I love the winter fair, and then you started talking about Pita Utsav. What happened was the response wasn't very well contextualized. For this reason, I cannot give you more marks in fluency and coherence, and the grammar was a bit broken as well. Whenever you introduce a new topic, and especially when you introduce a local topic, try to bring in a context. Try to give the imagine the other person has no idea about what you're talking about. Imagine that I'm not a Bengali person, I have no idea about, let's say, what a pita utsav is. So you should like introduce the topic naturally. So you should start the response like, well, we have many cultural festivals. Well, right now this is winter is just about to winter is coming right now, and during this time, we have this festival in our country which we call the Pita Utsav. So pitas are basically rice cakes that we eat, and during this festival, we have open air fairs. In our language, we call it mala, and then you elaborate the topic. That would really contribute to your fluency, and it would increase your fluency mark. Side by side, the thing is, when you started speaking about Boishak, you made the same mistake. And then I asked you, just to test you further, I asked you, what traditional dishes you like. So during that situation, you mentioned you just listed the dishes instead of developing them. So it's better to start the response like this. In our country, we have many wonderful dishes. For example, us Bengalis, we eat a lot of rice with curries. Fish curries are very popular, and the national fish that we eat is the Hilsa fish. If you manage to contextualize your responses like this, you will definitely get a much higher score. Other than that, your issues with pronunciation, it's mostly fine, but some words need work. For example, the words appreciate, occasion, and believe. Try to work on the enunciation. I will type these out after I finish the review, but make sure you try to enunciate these words properly. Sometimes overall holistically your pronunciation is fine, but there are just some minor lapses between sentences. So your pronunciation score might be a 6, but again, if the examiner is more lenient, it's usually a 7. So with your current level, I can almost guarantee that in your exam you will be getting a 6.5, but I believe that just with a little more effort and practice, you will be able to score a 7 to 7.5, if not more. Okay then. So do you have any more questions before we finish?
Okay. No, I have one question that there is. It's really hard to get a schedule for virtual speaking test.
Yeah.
Yesterday I checked my account, but I didn't see any date before 29. So I was thinking if you are available between 24 to 29.
Okay, just one